Into My Own, a poem by Robert Frost. From this book, the first video on this channel has an introduction to this book and to the poetry of Robert Frost and his life. Into My Own. One of my wishes is that those dark trees, so old and firm they scarcely show the breeze, were not as 'twere the merest mask of gloom, but stretched away unto the edge of doom. I should not be withheld, but that some day into their vastness I should steal away, fearless of ever finding open land, or highway where the slow wheel pours the sand. I do not see why I should e'er turn back, or those should not set forth upon my track to overtake me, who should miss me here, and long to know if still I held them dear. They would not find me changed from him they knew, only more sure of all I thought was true. This is a wonderful poem about him understanding who he is and wanting to venture out into the vastness that he sees before him. This is a beautiful illustration of what he might have been thinking of when he wrote this poem. You see how it just goes on and on forever. So first, the rhyme scheme is really interesting and consistent. When we talk about rhyme schemes in poetry, we usually label the sounds with the letters of the alphabet. So here we have trees and breeze. So the first two lines rhyme. So we would label those A. And then we have gloom and doom. So that would be B. And then we have day and away. That's a different sound from the first two, so it'll be C. And then land and sand, D. Back, track, E. Here, dear, F. New, true, G. None of the rhymes are repeated except for the couplets. So sometimes they're called couplets when there are two lines that rhyme together. And the paragraphs in poetry are called stanzas. So there are 4 stanzas in this poem. And each of the first 3 have 4 lines. And the last one has 2 lines. So this would be a true couplet. The imagery in this poem is beautiful. He talks about the dark trees. So probably the trees are bare, and so they look dark. And the illustrator has shown them as winter trees that are bare. So old and firm, they scarcely show the breeze. So if a tree is very old and strong, then they're not going to sway in the breeze. So they don't show the breeze. We're not as 'twere. So the word 'twere, as it says here on the side, is a contraction of as it were. So he's comparing them to a mask of gloom. So one of my wishes is that those dark trees were not the merest mask of gloom, as if they were a mask of gloom. gloom meaning darkness, sadness. So again, it seems as if it is a winter day that's kind of gloomy. So his wish is that they stretch away unto the edge of doom. So doom here could mean kind of the end of the world, infinity. It could mean lots of things, but it's kind of pointing at the infinite. So he wishes that these trees were not just a masking something, but that they stretch to infinity. And then he also wishes that he should not be withheld. In other words, held back, but rather that someday he goes into their vastness. So that's reflecting that meaning of doom and never ending, vastness. I should steal away. And that phrase is defined over here, meaning to sneak away. You kind of steal away, so no one is noticing that you're leaving. Fearless of ever finding open land. He has no fear, no doubt that he'll find open land. Again, this feeling of vastness or infinity. Or highway where the slow wheel pours the sand. I do not see why I should e'er turn back. So the word e'er means ever. It's a contraction of the word ever. It's defined here. And in poetry, they often do that to make it one syllable instead of ever. I do not see why I should e'er turn back. When it's one syllable, it has more of a rhythm and it flows better. So that's often why they choose to write it like that. So he doesn't ever want to turn back. He just wants to go into the vastness where he can discover who he is and his purpose. Or those should not set forth upon my track to overtake me, who should miss me here and long to know if I still held them dear. So he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want people to come and find him and try to overtake him. It's that feeling of being found and limited and brought back to overtake me. He really wants freedom. He's just talking about being free and finding who he is and finding his purpose. But these people would overtake him because they miss him and they want to know if he still misses them. So then he reassures them in the last two lines. They would not find me changed from him they knew, only more sure of all I thought was true. So it's a very positive thing. And he's reassuring them that he just wants to become more himself, who he is. And I find this to be almost like a love letter to his loved ones, that he knows who he is and he wants to fulfill his purpose, and he's reassuring them that they should be happy for him, and it doesn't diminish his love for him at all. I love looking at these illustrations. They're very peaceful. And there's lots of solitude here. There's just his dog with him. You see the stars, or snow, perhaps. It's snow falling. That's probably more likely. When we find solitude, we can really think about who we are without interference from anyone else. And this is one of the reasons why poetry is so wonderful, that we should read it in solitude and allow ourselves to understand the poem and think about it and think about what it means to us. Poetry can mean different things for everyone who reads it. There's no right or wrong. So I hope that this poem touches you in some way. I hope you can find solitude, maybe out in nature, and think about going into your own, finding your purpose, because each of us is unique and special and deeply loved, deeply, deeply loved, as he reflects in this poetry, in this poem, that people hold us dear, and we hold them dear as well. So we can uncover that within ourselves. Thank you for listening to this.